Hey, this is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and welcome to episode 11 of Wine and Barbecue with Erin Feges from Feges Barbecue in Houston, Texas, two locations, Spring Branch as well as Greenway Plaza. This episode is so fantastic. We talked to Chris Shepard. He doesn't need a lot of introduction, but one thing I do want to highlight is Southern Smoke Foundation. I'll put a link to his information below. This is a great talk. The wine part is Chris Shepard. The barbecue part is Erin Feges. It's a great conversation that meanders all over the place, but it really gives you a chance to understand more about Chris, about what he stands for, about everything he supports, and also his relationship with Erin. It's so great. It's almost like a fly on the wall of a conversation between the two of them. So sit back, relax, enjoy this, and please put your comments below about potatoes. You'll understand when you watch it. Thank you, Chris, for taking the time. Welcome, Chris, to episode 11 of the Wine and Barbecue podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Erin, for making this happen as well.
So excited.
Yeah.
It's like how long has the hiatus been?
It was February of 23. So what is that?
That's a few months.
Yeah.
A year and a half, I think. But it was a necessary hiatus, and who knows, this holiday season is always busy for you, Erin. So this might be the only one of 2024. That's fine. We can jump back in next year. This one's worthwhile.
It's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
Just jump right back on.
We'll see. People probably will see that we're a little bit rusty, but Chris, I wanted to talk to you about a lot of different things and how wine and barbecue kind of go together. But I know one thing that is really interesting is I think the first time I ever saw you was on Barbecue Quest. I always pronounce it Barbecue Quest, but it's
Yeah,
Quest.
I did do that show.
And you stopped at Feges
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
with Kelsey. Can you talk about why
Right.
you went that direction and why you wanted to, and then talk about your relationship with the Feges and about Spring Branch?
Why we did Barbecue Quest?
Yeah, well, what was it
Ask
because
me. I mean, I thought it was anytime somebody will ask me if I can show them the city through any sort of food lens, I'm going to. I thought that was really pretty cool show. We went and saw you and did Korean barbecue. And I love the city of Houston and being able to talk about it as much as possible.
can you talk about Houston? That's one of my questions is why Houston? What do you love about Houston and what do you love about Texas?
I mean, I moved here from Oklahoma in '95, and it was just I came for culinary school and I started meeting people and seeing different things that like you don't see in Tulsa, right? Which is pretty much everything,
Yeah.
right? But it's like learning different parts of the city, and like my days off, I would just drive and get lost, and knowing that I would eventually hit a loop and be able to find my way back because there wasn't a smartphone back
No,
then.
no.
You still had to have if you're OG Houstonian, you had a key map in your car,
Mhm.
but it was like that thick,
I remember that.
and it was just like
Was that kind
quadrant places.
You
It
had
was
to
such
look
a
up the
pain.
page and the quadrant. It was like page 63, quadrant C4.
Yeah. Like and we had Thomas guides. I don't know if that's something that you guys had out there as the
I
Thomas
don't
guide.
even know the name
And
of
that's
it.
what I used to for clients. I'd use that. I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
I mean, so it was. I started to learn the city a little bit, not like I know now, but it was the diversity and the accessibility to product that kept me here. And I think today it would still be the same thing. I mean, it would be the diversity, but it'd also be the product, but it'd also be the people, because I
It,
understand people a lot more now. And there's over the past almost 30 years, just ingraining yourself into the community has kind of been my thing. And I get to meet killer people like this young lady right here.
and she's part of this is kind of skipping ahead, but the band of four.
Yeah.
What is the band of
What's
four?
the band of four?
I wrote about that. Like
Oh,
yeah, there's a band of four, and there's like
yeah.
four chefs that actually care about wine. And I hate to say that they care about it, but it's more than care. They love it. They understand it. They can
Mhm.
talk about it. They're, fluent in the libation, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I just nicknamed it there's the band of four of Beaujolais, and I was like, there's the band of four in Houston.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what an awesome group to be part of.
Yeah.
So who are the other three? I don't know if I didn't write them down.
Terry and myself,
Mhm.
Terrence Gallivan, and Felipe Riccio.
Okay. And
So
are they part of Southern Smoke too, or is that
oh
just
yeah,
Mhm.
that's the whole crew.
okay?
Listen, now that I am really acutely aware of a new group that I'm involved in. I feel like I need to start organizing group get-togethers where we eat and drink
It's best.
and talk about
Best.
wine and food and community.
Yeah, sorry, I don't think I ever told you that.
I'm sure it was written, and I'm sure I read an article. God, I have like my ADD is so bad, and it's getting worse.
I forgot I wrote that, so it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I don't.
But no, it was a culture map article.
Yeah.
Been doing it for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Chris does a little bit of everything now.
Seems like it. Definitely.
Yeah, without owning a computer, it's pretty amazing.
Do you really not own a computer?
Oh, and I gave it away.
I believe that.
So
I can't prove that to be true, but I really believe that.
So how do you? So do you? But you have a computer at work or something, or no?
I don't have a work.
You have a work
I have an office.
You have an
There's
office
a desk at the Southern Smoke office that I claim is mine. Actually, it was given to me, but now it's just like a storage table for everybody else's shit.
Okay, so I listened to a podcast recently, and Woody Harrelson was the guest, and he is very much the same. They were like, we had the hardest time scheduling you because you don't own a phone and you also don't have a computer. And they were like, how do you function? And he was like, I have an iPad. And when I'm home, I check it, and then it stays at home because people don't walk around. He was like, honestly, if you can't get in touch with me, it must not have been that important.
I mean, there's that.
And you know what? He's getting booked. He's working. Like, he's obviously staying really busy. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
I have an
Didn't
iPad.
realize that.
It's at the office.
So do you type on your iPad?
Uh-uh.
You type on your phone?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, that's probably the craziest.
Yeah,
So you write your articles on your phone?
On notes, yeah.
I'd have so much trouble with that.
No, it's just like, well, I mean, like if you've read the articles, I mean, it's just a
They're
stream.
like your voice, yeah.
It's just a stream of consciousness, right? And I just, and then I send it to my wife, and she edits it and sends it in.
It does seem like, and I'll put a link to your articles below, but it does seem like you're talking. It does seem like it's like your voice.
That's why it's just different. Like I'll do the research and I'll, cut whatever I need to do. But it's like, if I had to sit down and I didn't get this skill.
So it wouldn't be as genuine.
No. And when we first did the articles, you can see it like the first probably 6 or 7 articles. I would sit in the chair, and then I would talk to Lindsay. And if she had a question, that meant I needed to go back and simplify it, or not simplify it, but explain it better. Because if she didn't know, then the reader wouldn't know. But it really wasn't in my voice so much. It was in Lindsay's hands, through her brain, thinking of hearing my voice, instead of like the dumb shit that comes out of my mouth, or out of my brain.
There's something more readable about the way that you write it. So I think that's it. It's easy reading. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like, oh, you want to do where, what, when, like the actual. It's not like a reporter style. It's more just your natural voice. I like it. I think it works.
I mean, I wrote a wine guy article where I decided to whine instead of talk about wine, and it was like coated French fries, the state of the French fry industry at restaurants. That was more for Lindsay, but I don't really care about fries as much. But now she's like, I really like these fries. They're coated. And she's like, they're not coated. I'm like, they're coated with rice flour.
They are, but they're so crispy and good, and they travel well.
Yeah, and she loves the Feges French fry. It's coated.
Yeah, I was gonna say those are not coated in the way that I love and endear coated fries, but they are.
Yeah. It's like when you say.
Can you explain that to people?
Yeah, so when you say coated fries, you think of like a curly fry, where it's that kind of seasoned, almost battered look. And that's I'm okay with it, right? I don't really have an opinion on those. But then there's the thin, super crispy coated like fry that you would look and just say, oh, it's a potato, but has been coated with rice starch, if you will, to maintain its crispiness for the consumer.
Yeah.
And she thinks it's cheating. And I'm like, it's not. It's a delicious French fry.
Yeah.
What's cheating is calling a steak fry a French fry, because that shit's a baked potato and it's terrible.
I agree. That is the worst form of potato.
Don't give me a wedge.
Yeah.
It's too much potato. I want the French fry for the crunch, not for the actual taste of the potato.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'll
I
have
also don't like
I'll-
potatoes that much, so okay.
you're not a big the potatoes
Potatoes,
people. That's a big thing in my life.
it's like the best food product there ever was.
A good
And-
potato is good. 95% of the potatoes, it's not the potato's problem, it's not their fault. It's the wizard, not the wand. It's that whoever executed said potato did it poorly. 20% of all potatoes, think about this, is the red bliss potato in the breakfast crap with peppers and onions
Mhm.
that are always not crispy,
Mhm.
not seasoned, not cooked thoroughly, not delicious. Wipe out. Now you're back down to 80% of like trying to figure out what potatoes are good.
Mhm.
Now let's talk about mashed potatoes. Take out 40 more percent. Because 40, I would say of that, 85% of mashed potatoes are terrible.
I don't eat mashed potatoes
See,
often,
that's the thing.
but
Unseasoned,
yeah.
like not enough butter, not enough
Mhm.
cream. Like it's just shitty potato.
Yeah, I agree.
The baked potato, not a fan unless you put stuff on it.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of like a steak night, but not at a restaurant, like a bar steak night baked potato.
But it's a vehicle for cheese, sour cream, bacon, and green onions.
Oh yeah, it's got to have all those things on
Mhm.
it. And honestly, like bacon, real bacon is good, but bacon bits,
Bagels.
I will die on my hill fighting on behalf of bacon bits. There's a flavor profile to fake bacon that you can't manipulate and mimic with real bacon.
No.
You just can't.
And it's,
And that's what nostalgia, that's what I expect. That's what I grew up with.
yeah, I did too. So I'm okay with it. It's not like liquid smoke flavor either.
Right. No,
Not like strong. Yeah.
it's so unique. It's like
But
terrible.
it does harken back to a memory in my mind when I have it. And I do like it. I like when a baked potato though is either was it cooked in salt or something that makes the skin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love the skin of it.
It's when my parents told me you got to eat the skin because that's where all the nutrients lie.
That's what my parents told me too.
What are you talking about?
But also too, like I like roasted potatoes, like roasted red potatoes. They're if you season them properly, yeah.
Again, we go back to too much rosemary, not enough
Oh,
salt,
yeah.
no acid whatsoever. It's the wizard, not the wand.
Okay, so when I was in Finland, and they are known for potatoes, so maybe you shouldn't go.
I'm okay with a delicious potato.
So our friend Aki in barbecue, I thought he was not ripping something off of us, but like, cause he has always asked permission, but he had a dish that I thought was like a play on something we did. And it was just a smashed, like, small Yukon potato. And they had them in the fryer at their restaurant frying for like 45 minutes. And I kept thinking, somebody forgot, somebody's about to get fired.
It's giving you anxiety.
Oh yeah. And they weren't burning, but they were getting pretty dark. And I kept telling Aki, like, hey, is somebody watching those? And he was like, yeah, we're good. Like, he wasn't really answering me, but he was like, yeah, calm down. Like, focus on you, Erin. And finally they pulled him out and he brought it over with, like, they let it sit after they fried him for, I swear to God, 2 hours at a really low temperature. They also sat out for like all day long. They fry them in the morning and they just sit under a heat lamp for hours. And he brought me a potato and it was crispy, salty, and so delicious. And I was like, why
See?
has this piece of
Mhm.
knowledge not left?
I don't think people don't leave
That
things
is
for
when-
45 minutes in fryer.
That is when the wizard and the wand connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the oil literally had penetrated to the core of these smashed potatoes. There was not a surface or an interior that was not fried. And they remained fried and crispy
All day.
all day.
See, my wine guy actually came to fruition and he get you whining about shit.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting that, but if you took those potatoes just as a whole and put them for 45 minutes, they turn into stone, right? Or would they?
I don't know. It would probably work. I think the real trick isn't that they're smashed. I think the real trick is that it's a low temperature,
It's low,
It's
yeah.
a porous enough food item, and you're penetrating deep in. And so you don't, and honestly, like, the science behind them not getting soggy has to be that there is just no moisture left because you have literally fried
Yeah.
every bit of moisture out of it. But I'm not a scientist, so
I'm going to say
I
you're
could be
right.
wrong.
I'm not a scientist either,
Yeah.
but you can get a second opinion on that. I think that is correct.
I really want you to try those potatoes in Finland.
And they season them right after they come out.
You don't go to Finland.
I believe so. I don't know
Okay.
because he kept telling me to mind my own fucking business. And so I literally was like, fine, burn your potatoes. I'll focus on me. And
I'll
then,
ask.
yeah. And so I didn't, other
This
than
is
knowing
good.
they
This
were
is
in there forever, I don't actually know. They were seasoned so well, which for a potato means there was a shit ton of seasoning on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this will be in the potato episode. This is when I'll pull this for the strictly
You know
potato.
what?
So
You never know what you're gonna get.
well, what do you get? What are you guys drinking first off? Because I think that should be something we
Yeah.
talk about.
Delicious.
Last year, my wife and I went out to Santa Barbara. I'd never been to the wine country out there, and so
Oh,
this
yeah.
is sparkling wine from Liquid Farm
Okay.
in Santa Rita
Wonderful.
Hills.
It's delicious.
Yeah, they're like, we saw it at the winery, and I was like, well, you just sold a 6-pack, ship it.
As you can see, I think Chris has a problem with memberships. I think he becomes a member.
No, it's hard. It really is hard if you go there and you're having fun, especially if you're like on a date. When I was dating my wife at the time, we go to Napa and we'd send it come back home with 3 memberships, or we go to like Santa Rita Hills, or we go to Santa Barbara, no, like what's the Santa Barbara wine country, and yeah, we'd always end up with stuff.
Well, that was the problem too, is that my wife has her own fixation on things. Like she loves Hirsch from Sonoma Coast more than probably anybody. And I think probably buys Texas's allocation of it. Seems like that shit shows up in masses. And she'll also ask me what should I order, and I'm like, get a case of this, get a half case of this, get a half case of this, get me 3 magnums because I love magnums. So yeah, go for it. And then everything else I pretty much do. But I spent a lot of time in Napa, and the odd thing is like I don't really drink cab, but I bought a bunch, and so just to free up room in there for Pinot, I had to put a 130 bottle wine cooler in the pantry next to another 60 bottle wine cooler, and that's just like Napa Reds, and I quit buying all of them because I'm just going to sit on that for 10 years before I touch anything.
Can I speculate for a moment?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we might have talked about this, but I don't recall because we haven't done this in a while. But I've learned in the past couple of years, now that I know people that run a winery, and it's a new small winery, but that memberships are where they really make their money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bread and butter.
Yeah.
And knowing you, I can see you becoming a member because you really want to support them. And so you are obviously supporting a lot of people, but you're not consuming at a rate that allows you to continue. You need like a new storage unit.
I mean, that's a very true statement. I thought that when we put this wine room in here that I would never be able to fill it up.
It's a good size.
Not a true statement. There's cases everywhere stacked in there. And now it's like,
and you guys throw a party. I mean, you do.
Yeah, we do. We always have people a lot. And that's why Erin's like, I'm going to bring wine. I was like, please God, don't.
We didn't. I brought some, but it's for props.
Yeah. And so it's the same thing with cookbooks and knives and shit that I like. Right. Yeah. Obviously, I don't collect computers. But yeah, there's certain things like I like to be able to say, well, what do you like to drink? Mm-hmm. And for someone to be very specific and maybe like, I'll be right back. Mm-hmm. Makes me happy. Mm-hmm.
When did your relationship with wine start? Do you remember? Or was that, did your family drink wine? Was that something that was?
Not at all. 95 when I moved here.
Yeah, okay.
I realized that there was a magazine called Food and Wine and that I should know both. And so while going to school, when I would get, at work, because I was one of those people that's like, when they said, don't work full time, I was like, why not? I'm going to school full time. I should work full time because when I get out, I don't think it's going to get any easier. Mm-hmm. I don't think you get shit done in 35 hours. Like, I just don't. And I think that holds true to anybody that wants to actually run a business or be good at whatever they want to do. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like really good and very successful at what they do, working 20 hours a week. I just don't know that. That's not. And so I would, when I get paid, one day a week, I would, one day every other week or whatever, I would take like $100 and I would go buy 4 bottles of like 4 or 5 bottles of Sauvignon Blanc from different regions of the world. And then the next time it would be Pinots, and the next time it would be Cabs, and the next time it would be Merlots, and it would always like I would go to basically the wine shop and be like, I want one from Napa, I want one from Sonoma, I want one from South Africa, I want one from here, I want, and I would just go down the list, and so I could start to understand like not all Chardonnays are equal, and not all Cabs are the same, and like what the hell is Bordeaux? And like I would just teach myself as much as possible, and so then it just kind of went from there.
Did you have a mentor that was into wine?
No.
No.
At some point in time, no. It was just my dumb ass doing it.
That's good though.
At the event on Monday, I asked Antonio if he had one question for you, what would it be? And he said, ask him what his Epiphany wine was. The wine that changed your perspective of wine.
Mm-hmm. Did he know that answer? He probably does.
I think he thinks he knows, and he needs to confirm it based on how you answer.
It would be a bottle of 1998 Soder Beacon Hill Pinot Noir. And there's probably other ones in my life, but that one is the one that was like, I took over the, that's how dirty it is. That was, so I worked at Brennan's for 9 years, 7 of that in the kitchen. 2 years I ran the wine program. Stepped out in the front of the house, and I found a 6-pack of something in the wine room that the previous person had bought. And I was like, I don't know anything about this. It's not on it. I'm just going to drink the bottle. I opened up the bottle at the pass one night, and I was like, whoa. And it was like I could smell earth and fruit and terroir and flavor, and like, it just blew my mind. And that's been forever. Like, and I know I can't find it, years ago you could find it laying around or at places on Wine Bit or whatever. And now it's just like, no dice.
Is that part of the Sauter Vineyards in Willamette Valley?
Yeah.
Okay. When we added, not that wine, but we added one of their Pinots, and Lindsay has been very vocal about how she loves that vineyard.
Yeah.
So now I know.
They make killer sparkling wine too. Their sparkling rosé and their Blanc is.
So it's Oregon wine.
I was going to say that should resonate with you.
Yeah.
What
Oh, yeah.
do you think?
I can't remember. He said it, and I have ADD, so I was still trying to remember.
He seems to think I love Gewürztraminer too, and that's a
It was
great.
definitely not. It was
I do not like Gewürztraminer.
Maybe it was a champagne. Now that I think about it, he might have mentioned a champagne.
Oh.
But
oh man. Well, there's you know what? Forever I didn't like champagne. I didn't like sparkling wine.
yeah.
Same.
All of a sudden I started drinking really good ones. I was like, Antonio does know me very well.
Mhm.
And he holds personal allocations for me that like I have my own personal allocation of Domaine Tempier Rosé every year. He calls, he's like, you want your allocation? And I remember at the restaurant, I was like, we got a 6-pack. We got 6 bottles, and that was it. And my allocation this year was a case of 750s, 2 Magnums, a 3-liter. The year before, I got a case of half bottles, which is weird. But yeah, that shit's stacked in here now. But we drink a lot of Tempier Rosé.
Yeah. I think we have to explain who Antonio is.
Yeah, you should definitely. That was
probably
For you and for everybody listening.
Antonio Gianola is a very special human being to me. I opened a restaurant called Catalan back in 2006, and he was my partner in that, and Sam, general manager. Actually, Pridgeon was the general manager, who still works with us. And when we both decided to kind of leave, I went to go start Underbelly. He went to work for Houston Wine Merchant, and he's actually the reason we started Southern Smoke, because he was diagnosed with MS, and that was the first party that we threw.
So some portion of the fundraising goes to that.
Yeah.
So another interesting tidbit. So on Monday we did a panel discussion, and Antonio was there. That's when he told me what to ask you. But the last time I was at Houston Wine Merchant, you had given me a gift card. Do you recall this?
I think so.
Okay. It was a gift card that allowed me to purchase wine at a price point that I would not normally go and purchase, right? And so Antonio was there, and I said, yeah. He said, how much do you want to spend? And I said, well, I want to say it was like $100.
I think it might have been.
Yeah. I have this gift card for $100. I want to buy something really special. I'm willing to put in, I don't know, another $50 to $100. So
Whoa.
he was like, okay. He pulls this wine out for me. And he says, well, he'd kind of talked about what I might be interested in. And I was like, I'm in your hands, Antonio. Like, there's nothing bad in this building. Like, and I like wine. So it would be hard to pour something that I don't like. I love the journey. I love the process. I love just the meaning of it. He picked out a wine. I bought it. And then before I walked out of the store, he said, do you want to know why I picked that for you? And I said, yeah, sure. And he goes, the first time I met you, you and Scott Miller came to Catalan. So this was when I worked at Plonk. Yeah. This was literally, I'd probably lived in Houston for 3 weeks back in Houston, right? Yeah. So this was 2010. And my new boss was taking me to what was probably the first dining experience I had in Houston post living in New York. And it was Catalan, which was Chris. I didn't know Chris. I didn't know Antonio. I didn't know who was who in the food scene. I didn't know anything, but my boss wanted to take me to lunch. He orders a bottle of wine. I remember wondering if I was supposed to drink or not, right? Like, I'm with my boss, but I'm a chef. Like, I'm going back to cook after this and he's drinking. That was the bottle.
The same bottle.
Antonio remembered that. I would never remember that. I would have known. Yeah, and then his wife on Monday night is standing next to us and she is dying laughing because she was like, you mean to tell me that you remember the wine that Scott Miller ordered when he brought in a new unknown chef that, you know, you couldn't possibly have known who she was because like nobody would have. And you remember what wine you served them, but I asked you to go to the grocery store yesterday and you forgot to get 4 out of the 7 ingredients on the list. And
it's what's important.
That's who Antonio.
Like in your brain, like how it catalogs things. Yeah, it's amazing.
And I don't think I remember when, I mean, I remember him telling me that story when I was about to walk out of the store with the wine, but I would never, ever have, I mean, I don't know, it just gave me chills when he told me that.
Yeah, that's like, special. That's really special.
He will call people and tell them, don't forget it's your anniversary tomorrow.
Whoa.
You want me to decide for you because this is what your wife really likes or your husband really likes.
So what does he own? He owns, is it
he just runs Houston Wine Merchant.
Yeah.
Oh, Houston Wine Merchant. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how so you got the gift card. He helped me pick the wine. I know him really through Chris. He's the reason Southern Smoke exists. Like, think of how everything is connected. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I had no idea that I was even.
You're part of it.
Okay. Wow. That's
without that gift card, I would never have gone in there. I would have gone in there and been like, I'll spend $35 on because you can get a good bottle of wine for $35.
Of course.
You can't get the bottle I got for $35.
Wow.
I thought about bringing it because I just can't find the right time to.
Oh, you haven't opened it yet?
No, because like Patrick's into wine, but like he's not gonna give a shit about that. He's not sentimental. He could care less about that. And I want to open it with honestly, like now that Antonio has reminded me of that, I sort of want to get with Scott Miller.
That would be
and really cool. And open that bottle just so that it all has some meaning and purpose. Because I think that's why I like wine.
It's full circle.
It really is about like the whole experience.
He probably told you I liked Bassoni Vineyard Pinot.
That might have been it. I'm telling 100%. You, he's gonna listen. We're gonna make him listen, or
make sure that, or at least like
Antonio knows me
flip out
very well.
Yeah.
He knows my flavor profiles very well. He's the first one to text me on my birthday, even though he does it a day early. So I'm not sure. I think he remembers it wrong, but it's every morning on September 6th. He texts me, "Happy birthday," and I'm like, "I love you very much."
Mm-hmm.
And I never have said it's tomorrow, but he'll know now if he listens to this.
Yeah, if he ends up watching this,
he pays me allocations of Bassoni too, because you have to be on their wine club for 5 years before they offer you any of it.
Oh, really? That's good for people to know if they're listening or watching and they want to. Yep. So you have to be in their wine club. And what's their wine club? Is it, do they get special?
They'll put the like Lucy Rosé or the Lucy Chard, and then they do some Susan's Hill Syrah. But man, it's 5 solid years before they offer you 1 6-pack of Bassoni.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, I went to Antonio, and it was right after I got my first like partnership check from Underbelly, and I bought a 6-pack of Bassoni, and I came home as a first case that I ever bought. right? And it was just a 6-pack. And I told Lindsay, I fucking made it. I was able to buy this, and she's like, that's amazing. And now
You're still making it.
we're gonna open a bottle here in a minute.
Oh, you are.
Love
Okay.
it.
But you guys had, when you guys did that thing in Napa, did you have Turley up there?
We did.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, did
You posted something with
did I
Turley.
mention something? Okay, I posted about it.
Yeah, you put, and I remember how like I was trying to get on Turley's list for a long time. This was like back in the day, I think when it was hard. I don't think that it's as hard now, and that's part of one of the discussions I was going to have about something about post-pandemic.
Very on the nose.
It is.
But I definitely, like, Turley was really special. Once I got on, I bought so much of it, and I was married at the time too. It was great.
They just had their offer come out yesterday. That is really cool because look, Turley back in the day was like the jam, right? You had to have it. If you saw it, you had to order it.
Yeah.
And Zinfandels kind of fell off. But I think they've started to make this rebound, especially in my mind. I had the pleasure and opportunity to spend a few days with Tegan Passalacqua, who is the winemaker for Turley. Last year we did a auction called the Canted, and he bought a auction package of going up to Jackson Hole and making a beer with me, without really knowing me.
Mm-hmm.
We've met a couple times. I did a dinner with him last year prior to that Canted event, and so like he and Lindsay and myself just spent like 4 solid days together learning it. And like I didn't understand why his Instagram was own rooted. I didn't understand Sandlands. I didn't understand Turley that much. And he basically got in. He's one of the most knowledgeable human beings about viticulture and wine growing areas and styles in California. He's born and raised Napa.
Wow.
But the own rooted is that he believes in not grafted vines.
Mm-hmm.
He wants everything to have its own roots and to be old vine and for it to have been there for a long time. And that was what Larry Turley's vision was. And, Tegan can't, you can't buy vineyards in Napa anymore. So he's off in Lodi buying vineyards and doing his own label, and like understanding what old vine Carignan tastes like is just beautiful.
He reminded me so much because I met him when we were in Napa, and I hate comparing people because it doesn't, like, I don't want to diminish who he is on his own, but it felt so much like the conversation we had with Rajpar.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like Raj, like
So
that sort of intellect.
The intellect, the passion, and like real passion, not like artificial passion or surface passion. Like he really, it's in his blood. Like I didn't realize until we went to Napa on this trip how many people that work in Napa are from Napa, born and raised in that area.
Wow.
To me, it seems like a place that everybody just comes in from the outside, but that is absolutely not the case. Like a lot of people are 3rd, 4th generation, and not everybody was in winemaking, but like it's in his blood, and he's a really lovely human being. Yeah.
Wow.
Great. And like it made me have this huge respect for Turley just in general, because it's like I can go back to it now and think about it. And I had the pleasure of like buying somebody's, like they had too much wine in their cellar. So they gave me a list, and I bought a bunch of older stuff. And so like I bought a bunch of like 04, 05, 06 Turleys. And that, man, I'm telling you, it's so good. It holds so well and so fresh and so clean. And so that's what it's on the 3rd floor is all new Turley, just sitting age.
The 3rd floor where you are?
My house, yeah.
I'll be sure to visit the 3rd floor before.
No, I just
cooler off on the side of the bourbon wall.
I'm wondering what years I was buying back then, but it was definitely
It was that time, right?
Yeah. Well, my dad died 2009, and so it was like 3-4 years before he died. So it was that time.
And Tegan's first vintage was 05.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've got the last one in here is 05, and so when he comes next, I'm gonna be like, let's drink it.
Yeah.
We're always talking about how wine and barbecue are connected, and it's like I don't think we premeditate like, why should we do a podcast about wine and barbecue? And it's just because I like wine and barbecue and you like wine and barbecue, but I'm telling you, like every step along the way, I'm reminded that those things are so connected. So when we were at Turley, and it's
I know where this
Larry
is going.
Turley's house is there, right? It's this amazing property. It really makes me wish I'd done something different with my life. He was a doctor before, or he was a doctor and that's what led him to what he does now. But he is very into smokers, barbecue paraphernalia,
Really?
all things.
Yeah. I mean, this guy, every corner you turn, there's some fire contraption that cooks stuff.
Wow.
Some of it looked like it hadn't been used, but he was obviously very, I think, geeky on the technology of it, which is so relatable. I think it's such a simple premise, but like, where is the firebox in relation to like the cooking element? All that stuff is
also one of the only humans I've ever met that has a walk-in cooler in their house.
Yeah.
For like, instead of putting refrigeration in, you put a walk-in. So, and I'm super freaking jealous.
Yeah, that
awesome.
Gave me so much envy. But
although my wife would never go into the walk-in. She'd be like, go get the milk for the coffee. And I'm like,
that's the
right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's already your situation.
I'm too cold.
When we were there and he was talking about, well, Tegan was talking, I hadn't met Larry yet. Larry hadn't come out and talked to us, but Tegan was telling us the story about the previous winemaker had housed some secretly purchased smokers that Larry Turley's wife had not been informed about. And so Larry was like, hey, can I put this at your house until I can tell, I don't know his wife's name, but until I can tell my wife about it. And it was like, yeah, sure. And like 10 years go by and like that thing never got touched. It was just existing on this person's property. And then when he was leaving his position as the winemaker and Tegan was taking over, it was like, hey, so do you have space for this thing at your property? And Tegan was like, no, I don't have, what? I don't have room for this. So they had to remind Larry, like, hey, you've got this smoker you bought 10 years ago. Do you think you could tell your wife about it so you can bring it back? It was so funny because I was like, my husband does that. My husband does that.
Buys big things that
So Larry and Patrick synced up and they chatted for hours. And I was like, it must be like a male thing. Like it's in your genes.
What to want more.
You have to buy smokers. You don't even have to use them. You have the same issue because Lindsay chimed in herself and was like, yeah, we have that problem.
2 more coming.
2 more.
Does she know about both of them? She knows about one of them.
What kind did you get?
So your husband's a part of this problem.
Of course.
Because he was talking to me about Syntex and those they've got some direct heat cookers, like 3 or 4 of them that they want to do something with Southern Smell. I was like, I'll just buy one. I was looking at it anyway. And he was like, well, I mean,
he's like, wow, my wife would never let me. And you're like, neither would I.
And then I actually ordered a gas grill.
Yeah. That's a very practical purchase.
Because nothing I have isn't live fire.
Yeah.
So, and if I grill even chicken wings, I burn wood for 4 hours before I cook chicken.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah.
It's not practical.
It's because I like the aspect of like having a fire. And there's a pallet of giant wood over here on the side of the house that is from Southern Smoke from a year ago or 2 years ago. They brought it here because they didn't have any place to put it. I was like, so I'm just going to, because it's too big for the smoker, it's too big for the pizza oven, so I just have to do it in the live. Yeah, so there's 5.
He has a really nice house, but he doesn't have
5 wood piles in my backyard.
It's not like
without view of my wife.
It's not like Chris and Lindsay live on an acre of land, right? Like they live in the middle of Houston, so it's very well laid out. Yeah.
And it goes up 3 stories. 3 stories. All your pits are all around your house.
Going up.
Well, the 3rd story was the attic, and when we bought a 2-story duplex and gutted the whole thing because it was the only affordable way to live in Montrose. Because you could just, if you bought something that was new, you had to redo it anyway. Because I don't want that kitchen. I want my kitchen. I want it built for me, and so that was the goal. And then the 3rd floor just became this. Supposed to have a bathroom or a shower, but then that you start putting walls up and that shit shrinks. So there's just there's just like a half bath and a couch with a TV and a whiskey wall and a bar.
And do you still have the painting that Patrick did?
Upstairs?
Yeah. So early,
Right, I do.
I mean, like, because you asked early on, and I don't think we ever answered this question, but like, how do we know each other?
You do that. I'll be back.
Yeah, Patrick started working for Chris. Gosh, I'm gonna mess this one up. At Underbelly,
Yep.
but Patrick was at the time working at Brennan's, and Chris had already become a Brennan's legend, right? So like Chris has gone on and done other projects, and Patrick is at Brennan's. And there's this opportunity when Underbelly's opening. They don't know each other, but I think Brennan's on the resume might have helped secure, the interview. And so Patrick starts working for Chris, and then I moved back to Houston around this time. I'm doing different things, but eventually my path crosses with Chris because I'm hired to open Blacksmith as just a consulting chef. So I did like the opening menu for Blacksmith Coffee. And at that point, like Patrick is seeming like he is a ravenous coffee drinker. It turns out he is not. But he was working for Chris. We all kind of worked together. Chris is certainly our mentor. It started out very much as like a mentor relationship, but we're obviously like all really good friends now.
Yeah.
But so much of what led, I think, Patrick on his trajectory, and he will admit this, was Chris working for Chris, but also the encouragement of Chris. Like Chris kind of was just like, hey, you keep doing pop-ups, like stop talking about it and go be about it. Like go do the damn thing. Like, how long are you gonna pull, double shifts? Mr. I like to work double shifts, but like he was like, go do it. Go work for
You're talking
somebody
about
else.
for barbecue, correct?
He pushed Patrick.
Yeah.
Not he pushed Patrick out, but when
Oh, I did.
Patrick had an opportunity to help Ronnie Killen open Killen's, which if you go back to 2012, which was like around the time this was all happening, I think 2012, 2013,
15 probably.
the Houston barbecue scene was pretty much in its infancy. There were a few like really established generational barbecue joints, but like a lot of what we talk about now didn't exist, right? So Ronnie really kind of pioneered that. And Chris was like, you have this opportunity. I know you work for me and I shouldn't be pushing you out the door, but like go the fuck and do the thing. Like get on it. And I think a lot of what Patrick has had the confidence to do was because of that.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. It's not something he was going to learn from me, right? I have a pit in the backyard. I've never cooked a damn brisket in my life.
Have you never?
No. Why?
I don't know.
Neither have I.
Neither.
No, it's like people like, well, you have a Franklin smoker, but you've never cooked a brisket on it. I'm like, technically, I could drive back and forth to Austin 3 times, have brisket.
Well, by
the time
from Franklin,
yeah, I
and
guess
never, or 100 times to Patrick and Erin's place, and the damn thing still wouldn't be done.
Yeah.
I don't look. I have a lot of time for a lot of things, and that for one reason. I don't understand barbecue that much.
I gotta check this.
I mean, you don't have to pour it out.
I'm gonna go pour this because I want to try this wine.
Okay. Well, so talk about Southern Smoke then.
Yeah. So it is a foundation that my wife and I started back in 2015. As I said, I've mentioned to Antonio, we were doing dinners to raise money for scholarships to put kids through culinary school. And I realized how hard that was to do, not the actual fundraising of it. I mean, that was what it was. But the actual aspect of giving the money away. And
love it.
It's 2 bottles out. There's 6 packs in there, but they're all blocked up. Because I had a couple, I'm a king of requirements, right? Little stipulations that you have to do. And that was, you had to go to school full time, you had to work full time, and all you had to do was have a letter from your chef at school and a letter from your chef at the restaurant.
Okay.
2.5 years it took me to give money away.
Really?
Ride. Full ride. $45,000 pay for your whole school. Took 2.5 years to give the money away. They kept calling and asking, like, hey, can you, make your criteria a little bit easier? I was like, no. Because it takes us to get to that. And so, yeah.
Was it Chef Dom?
Yeah, Dom Lee.
So somebody who's very much currently like thriving in the culinary scene was the first recipient?
The only recipient.
The only recipient. I mean, but it's literally like very tangible.
Yeah.
How that affected this person's.
Because you get all these people that go to culinary school and then they don't actually work.
Yeah.
Right. And I hate to say it like that, but it's very true though.
No, that's very true. I know people that have gone to culinary
And it's
school.
like, well, I'm going to go private chef it up. And it's like, what the hell does that mean? Why would you spend this money? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of great money in private home cooking. I guarantee there is. And I'm probably doing myself a disservice by not doing that. But I couldn't wrap my head around it. And so, yeah, that happened. And then Antonio would come and be the guest song for those dinners. And then he came afterwards and asked me if I would do a dinner to raise money for MS. And I was like, sure, but why? And I was actually thinking it was a sister, because the sister, I think, was diagnosed with MS too.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, no, I got diagnosed this week. And we had lost a chef, had signed a lease, lost use of his hands, and then died by suicide about 6 months before that. In fact, we just hit the 10-year anniversary of that this past weekend.
Oh my gosh.
And Antonio, like that's part of the MS problem, is that people with MS don't like to talk about it because there isn't a cure. And there's massive amounts of depression and understanding how to deal with it and not wanting to talk to people. And so he was like, I want people to understand what's going on with me. And so I was like, sure, you got to figure that out. And so about 6 months later, I was driving to Austin and I was like talking to Lindsay about it. And I was like, what if we had Sean Brock and Rodney Scott, Aaron Franklin, and myself, and then we'll do a dinner for 200 people in the back parking lot. And she was like, that sounds great. So I called all of them said yes. I was like, yeah, now we got to go to the city's department of special events to shut down the sidewalks. It was just the sidewalks. And she was like, what are you doing? I told her, she said, shutting down all the streets around you. We're shutting down, we're giving you our stage, the mayor's stage, so you can have music, which is a beautiful stage. All the infrastructure, all the fencing, all of the people to do everything. And I walked out, I was like, what the fuck just happened? And Lizzie's like, I guess we're throwing a festival. We're restaurant people, we don't know how to do that shit. But we threw a party for 1,000 people. I got all of our friends involved into it and raised $181,000 that year. And then year two, same thing. More chefs, more people, 284,000. And then year three, Hurricane Harvey came through the city, put a absolute ass whooping on our community. And so, sitting in an empty dining room and not having your staff there, and people are texting you and like, how do we help? How do we pay your dishwashers? It's like, I don't think you could legally do that, but so we looked at the Giving Kitchens philosophy, their standards of how they do a guideline and how they give money in Atlanta. And I was like, I like this, but I don't like this. I don't like this because they pay rent. They help with rent and they help with electricity, and that's it. And I was like, but they pay nothing against us either, right? Because they are a lifesaver.
Yeah.
For so many people. And they do such a fantastic job. But I didn't want to pay it for them. Because to me, there's a sense of dignity that was taken away by that. And again, nothing wrong with that, right? And that's just my thought process. That's not it. Again, they're doing amazing work, but I just wanted to be able to give the money to the individual. And if it was $4,000 they need, I wanted to give them $4,000, and I want them to be able to pay their bills. So, because I don't know, it just was one of those things for me.
No, I get it.
And so we figured out we could take on with our 501c3 that we could take on applications go through a verifying committee, awards committee, and fund people directly. And so we took on about 220 applications and granted 139 families $500,000
Just for Harvey.
just for Harvey.
Wow.
And at that point, we realized that we would always do something for the MS Society, but our industry doesn't have a safety net, and we needed to figure out a way to fix our industry. And so, we kept granting, and it was very local. It was very Houston driven. But then there'd be like the fires in Napa. Okay, well, let's send money to this foundation. Flooding in Nebraska. Okay, let's take care of some restaurants up there. Hurricanes in Kentucky. Okay, let's talk about that. And then tornadoes in Kentucky, hurricanes in North Carolina. So let's figure out a way to send money around. And then we started slowly just kind of working on more national level of cases. And then 2020 happened.
Yeah.
And within the first couple of weeks of April, we had 36,000 applications in nationwide. And, money fundraising was, I hate to say easy, but we were set up for that. And so we granted over $6 million in 2020.
That's crazy.
And in 2018, we had a little closed door lunch with all the chefs coming in for festival and try to figure out how we fix our industry a little bit. Because, if we're funding for the problem, how do we fix the problem before we fund it? Right? Let's reverse this and try and come up with solutions on how to keep people out of crisis. And so we all decided on mental health. And we worked really hard with Mental Health America. Man, I almost had a deal worked with Memorial Hermann and the hospital systems here. But it became really kind of, the way that system was going to work wasn't going to be what we needed it to be. But again, pandemic happened. And the psychology department at the University of Houston, their PhD students couldn't graduate because they couldn't get their technical hours because they were doing casework on students, but no classes. And so, they reached out to Mental Health America to be like, how do we do this? And then Mental Health America is like, hey, I know somebody. And they connected us. And so we started the program behind you then with the University of Houston to basically gain access to free mental health care or low cost to people in the food and beverage industry. So that happened in July of 20.
Of 20.
Now it's in how many states?
Now it's in 10 states and
that's awesome.
In DC.
Yeah.
And because of the way that we do it, because I can't work with like a psychiatry clinic or group because it has to be each state has its own regulations, and that's where you're I forgot what the term of it is, but it's like a lawyer. You have to be past the bar in each state.
To each state, yes, yeah.
Just like psychology is the same
License,
way. Yeah. We basically work with universities all across the country. We just, like she said, in July, we were in Texas, Louisiana, California, Illinois, and New York with 2 universities in New York. Because when we started in New York 3 years ago, we went on a wait within 48 hours. And so we started with Yeshiva, then went into NYU. And then in July of this year, we added Tennessee, Massachusetts, Maine, South Carolina, Virginia, and DC. And then North Carolina will probably do 2 more states next year. But we fund the university's psychology department because psychology departments don't get funded like the football team.
Yeah, well.
So they like the money. So we fund the department, and that gives us access to free sessions. And so each person that applies and gets put into the program gets 20 free sessions or 6 months of care.
And they have to be in the restaurant business?
Yeah. Food and beverage. Yeah, not restaurant specifically.
Oh,
they could be a farmer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody that touches food or service along the way.
The way to get it to a table or into a restaurant.
Oh, that's great.
We don't do like liquor stores or grocery.
Yeah.
but
But
like
how
a
did now how did
delivery driver,
Not Uber drivers or like food.
not a
but
third,
not
not a third party delivery
not
driver.
Grubhub
But
guy?
like if you're, yeah. So
because they can turn off the thing and go pick up at people and take them around the city, right? It's like,
Yeah.
come on, thank you. And so yeah, we've granted over 8,000 free clinical sessions since 2017, well 2020 actually.
mhm.
Since 2017, we've granted almost $13 million nationwide.
So is the money coming in just from your once a year festival, or is it coming
Something
from
from all sorts of
all sorts of things?
yeah.
I mean, you can donate at any time. You can go to the website and donate
Yeah, I'll
at
put a
any
link below.
time.
Okay.
The festival, I think, is a pretty massive fundraising effort that contributes largely to like the annual, but there are events that happen and I mean, I can't keep up with this guy's schedule. That's why we had to schedule this the way we did. Because like he's just traveling all the time. There's people that reach out to Chris and Lindsay, I assume, and they're all like in other states. That's why we were in Napa. I mean, we were there.
Yeah, because I was kind of wondering how this works. Like, how do you get all these places? Is it because someone requests you guys to come? What's that?
This logo is so little you can't see it, but it's Long Meadow Ranch. And
I've
my
heard of
understanding is they reached out to you guys.
They have a restaurant. The ownership of that group, Long Meadow, started back in the late '90s, and I've been a big fan from day one. And like that Prato Lungo, they make an olive oil that comes from up off the side. They still use me, and I bought a pallet of it when I was at Brennan's. And they're like, "Excuse me?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take a pallet. Can you get it here?" And they're like, "Did you say a pallet?" And I was like,
Yeah,
"I
excuse
said
me.
a pallet. I want a pallet of olive oil." And they're like,
This
"Okay."
guy. That's hilarious.
Okay. And so it was like the first true believer that they had in olive oil. But they have a restaurant called Farmstead in St. Helena. And I've done 2 live fire. They have like this, they have the restaurant and then they have this special events area outside where they've got all the live fire equipment, the smokers and the iron crosses and big cauldrons. And
It's beautiful.
the most memorable meal I've ever had, they did pork fat fried chicken over this giant fire in a cauldron and put it on tables in front of you, and then walked up with the entire section of their bees honey, and then just cut the comb off and just hung it over the top of the fried chicken and just did one of these. And it was just like, what the is happening right now? And it was just amazing. And so they're such sweet, sweet human beings. And so last year I did a dinner, kind of like it was for their foundation, but we talked a lot about Southern Smoke. And then I offered them to come out last year and cook at Southern Smoke. And they were like, this means so much. And so they wanted to throw a little baby Southern Smoke Festival at the restaurant. And so it was us, Feges, Pesh from New Orleans, Kevin and Tavel from Emmer and Rye Hospitality in Austin, Sarah Gruenberg from Monteverde in Chicago, and Felipe and Austin from Goodnight Hospitality here.
He's part of the Band of Four.
Band of Four.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we did 200 people, 250 people. And
it was a perfect weekend. Like I honestly I don't think I can adequately explain. So the event is planned probably 6 months out or so, maybe further than that. Like we've got it on the calendar. We know we're going to be in Napa. Occasionally the chef, who's incredible, reaches out to us, but it's not like he's stressed or anything. He's just like, when you got a menu, send me what you want to do. The hospitality from the get-go was incredible, even before we arrived, right? But I remember being so busy that I wasn't really thinking about Napa until about 2 weeks before we went to Napa. I mean, we had a menu, but that was it. We were doing brisket foldies. And
it was like, I'm making brisket all one day. And so Erin's like, I'm not doing shit for that.
And since I don't really have anything to do with making brisket, I went and met Tegan at Turley and made use of my time.
But
fantastic. It was an incredible weekend, but it wasn't just the event. The event was great. And I thought the event was so well executed. It was a great size. It felt really kind of intimate. It was everything about that weekend included. So before we had the event at Long Meadow Ranch. You know, being a wine geek, I think you've probably heard me mention Mathiasen.
One second.
Okay, this is happening.
Hey,
Oh, bummer. I was hoping
sorry, that was rugby.
she would have for sure hung up on you.
Yeah.
She would have ended the call. The first night we were there, we had
So you missed the round table.
we flew in that day, and just so you know, it took us 6 hours to get from SFO to Napa because we had to wait forever for a car. We wanted a Mustang convertible.
That's your problem.
Well, there you go.
I spent a lot of time out there last year, and I found out that flying into Sacramento is way easier.
Yeah. So next time.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. When I went to Napa, and that's what I'd always do.
Next year when we do this, we're flying.
It's not as many flights from Houston on
Sure.
United to Sacramento yet.
But it was the loveliest. It was the loveliest couple of days. And it started with these really informal. Lindsay and Chris would send this email out and say, hey, the Mathiasens would like to host, you know, the chefs at their house. If you're interested and don't have plans, let us know. It was so informal and so
We didn't really know what that meant.
And I'm geeking out because I'm like, the Mathiasens, I've been pouring Mathiasen wine since my days at Camerata. I'm like sort of geeking out. And Patrick's like, Mattia who? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. But we show up and it's, you know, their house is on their vineyard. It's where they grow the grapes. It's essentially a farm. We get a farm tour. We're literally like all sharing some raw corn.
It's like, try this more. Try this old orange. Like,
I love it.
Talking about it, it's not even going to do it justice. It was a beautiful, just amazing evening, and it ended with a peach tasting. And I'm telling you, the peach tasting might be one of the most memorable courses of food I've ever had. And then the next night.
But I mean, also you walk up to this and you're like, what are we doing? We're in this place.
It's a neighborhood, and then it's not a neighborhood.
It's a neighborhood, and all of a sudden you go through a gate and it's their house and it's gorgeous. And I look and I'm like, Joe Kwan's here. And so Joe Kwan is the celloist for the Avett brothers and a good friend. But I was like, I didn't know Joe was going to be here. I didn't know this was going to be. Yeah, Joe's here with his baby and his wife. And they're here. And the Siskis are here. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, none of us knew. Like, we thought we were going for a couple of snacks.
Yeah.
So it's like, are we going to dinner after this or what? No, they cooked a full-on farm dinner.
And everything.
Were they expecting this many people to come? Is that or just this what they do?
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's just what they
hospitality.
do.
It's hospitality.
There was like 12 or 14 of us, I think, total.
Yeah.
At that point.
But that's a great life. That's such a cool giving hospitality.
Beautiful. They obviously thought it was hot. And we were like, oh my God, I should put a sweater on.
A little chilly.
It was amazing. And so at the table where I was eating, and it was informal. So these are just like picnic tables outside. I'm sitting with the Sinskis, but I don't really know it's the Sinskis.
Oh, really?
No, they were so casual and fun.
Yeah, they're great.
They introduced themselves by their first name.
Yeah,
Bob and but like I didn't.
And Bob. Sometimes it's Bob, sometimes it's Rob.
This whole weekend is literally summed up by people being so casual that it takes 3 days after you meet them to realize that you're like, oh, what? I can't believe
love that. That's my favorite time in life, when you find out that you've talked to somebody for a long time and not realize who they were, because because obviously they're humble, they're normal people.
Yes, and the connections were so real. But like, so the Sinskis hosted night 2, and in the middle of night 1 at the Mathiasens, they're kind of joking about how dinner tomorrow night's going to go. And it's like, well, it's a goat farm, lower your expectations. Like, things are going to get weird. And I'm like, okay, goats and things getting weird. My imagination is really pretty wild.
It's going to be awesome.
And then we show up and it is another stunning, beautiful night. Only this time, I think there was probably about 50 people.
50 people.
Wow.
I mean, it was.
I walked up and I was like, Coon's here. And Lindsay's like, what? And I was like, the guy that owns Red Boat Fish Sauce. He's here.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a second. What's the team from Anchovy Bar doing here? And Staybird Provisions. What's Stuart doing here? And so Stuart and his wife are there. And I was like, that's the old restaurant editor for the San Francisco Chronicle. And then like, it was just, you just went down the list of like who's who at this dinner. I was like, what is this for?
How did that work? How did that work out? Was this random?
They literally invited all these people to come hang out with the Southern Smoke team.
Wow.
And then we got to talk about the story of Southern Smoke.
Yes.
and they cooked lamb.
It's
And
organic, like an organic way to do it too. That's
it
smart.
was so meaningful.
It was.
I can't really explain it, and nobody knew what they were pulling into. When we pulled into the driveway, I thought we were going to a goat farm. I thought we were going to do weird things with goats, because that's kind of what they said.
Quite frankly, no goats either. It was all lamb. It was
Beautiful
awesome.
property. I mean, it was under construction. They're renovating it into
that's funny.
something, but it was such an amazing night, and the whole trip was so amazing, and there were so many wonderful connections. And that night in particular, we closed it down, me and Felipe, with Patrick and Austin, the gang of 4 representing. It was Felipe and I just talking with Bob and Maria, and like, eventually we were like, well, we gotta go. And they were like, are you sure? And we were like, yeah, we're the last people here. Like, you're literally keeping the lights on for us. And we put all of those humans in my car, in that Mustang convertible.
Oh man.
Because they didn't want to call an Uber.
Yeah.
They were like, no, we'll ride with you guys. And I was like, are you sure? There's not really a backseat.
You will figure it out.
They figured it out.
So there's lodging at the Longmeadow Ranch?
No. So we each stayed at somebody's guest house. Like Felipe and Austin literally stayed with the Mathiasons
in their old kids' bedroom.
Yeah.
Like, their kids had just grown out and gone to college and had, I think 3 months before this event, there were twin size beds in that room, and they had upgraded to like.
But they're like having coffee with Mama Mathiason every morning.
Oh, that's so great. It's like
she brought pole beans over to the house one night, and she was like, "This is what your debt is," and she made them shell the peas.
No, and then Leanne from Yeti is shelling peas, and my sister who lives in San Francisco, who got invited because she had a crock pot that we needed for queso, so she got a secret loophole in. I'm telling you, and that was the last night, which he hosted at the place where they were staying, and it was another just massive gathering. This is probably not going to translate in a podcast at all. They're going to be like, why do they keep talking about the dinners they had? Yeah. It's so hard to describe what happens when you put a bunch of hospitality people together. It's better than any dining experience you'll ever have. The last night we were there, it's impossible to top night 1, night 2, and night 3, but somehow night 4 was like my absolute favorite night.
So we had like, where I stayed was the Madavi's house. Robert Madavi Wineries, because I do some work for them.
Okay.
And so they have two bedroom houses on the same property with a big outdoor, a little grill out in the back, and it's a very good entertaining home. And so I told the team at Madavi, I was like, I'm going to invite all these people. There could be like 40, 50 people. We don't really know. And it ended up being like 25, 30.
It was the perfect size.
It's a perfect size, but it's like the majority of those people all are in restaurants. And so everybody's like, the kitchen is packed with people like knocking out a dish here, doing this here. Yeah. Someone's pouring wine. There's big Yetis filled with bottles of wine from everywhere. And it was such an amazing experience just for everybody to relax and get together in a place and share wine and food in the middle of a vineyard. Mm-hmm. The house is in the middle of a vineyard. So
is that on the 26th? Is their house off the right in the center of Napa?
It's right behind. It's like catty corner.
Opus? Yeah, by Opus. Yeah, okay.
So it's right behind. It's off of Oakville Grade, off of right behind.
Right over the river.
What's that? Oakville Grocery.
Yeah.
Okay. Behind. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so it's just this nondescript house, and it's just such a beautiful place. And
yeah,
I lived out there most of the summer last year. It was great.
You lived out there?
I'm telling you, like, that night you looked in the kitchen and Sarah and Felipe are in there whipping up delicious things, and honestly the coconut rice was like my favorite dish. Tavel's coconut rice literally blew my mind.
I'm gonna make some rice, and I was like, what? All right.
And somehow that rice was literally the best bite of food on a plate of best bites of food. And you just turn a corner everywhere you look, every nook and cranny, everywhere you look, there's something magical happening. And then I walk outside with my sister, and there's a group of people shelling the cranberry beans from the Mathiason's farm, where she said, like, I'm gonna make you guys, like, this is how you're gonna pay your room and board. You're gonna shell these things. And there was just like, I think my niece sat down and started doing it, and Felipe was doing it, and Leanne
I didn't do it.
sat down and do it. I continued walking towards the grill because that's where I was gonna sit with my sister and drink. But like, regardless, it was just very scenic. Being able to look around and just see all these things kind of happening. And maybe that's how Napa always is.
Well, I think it's how technically like wine and good people come together.
Yeah.
Could be
Yeah.
it could be sitting here right now. It's
Yeah.
the same kind of experience, right? It's
Yeah.
like good people having a good glass of wine, sharing stories.
And
And
whipping some stuff up if they want. Yeah.
And at this point, this podcast is just like, I don't know what you're gonna do.
I think it's more so if people want to get to know us or get to know you guys and get a chance to, people. I guess our other podcasts have been more technical, but it still feels like just a conversation.
Man, I'll be honest with you. You came to hear no technical shit from me. You're in
I didn't want. I want to know what chrisshepard.is is. Is that something bigger coming, or is that just?
Yeah, it is. Is literally.
It is.
So when I decided to get out of the restaurants, the people that branded Southern Smoke, I love them. And so we started talking, and they're like, "So what are you doing?" And I went through this, and so my wife and I decided that we should do some branding, for me, because it's like, well, it's really kind of hard to tell what I do now. And so if you go to, I guess it's the website, I don't really know. It's a splash page thing right now. It's not a full on.
Yeah, but it's scrolling. You scroll it. It's a scrollable.
But it's Chris Shepard is, and then it's like is cooking, is talking, is reading, is philanthropy, is whatever, and it's just kind of this rolling thing. And so they are really smart and figured out that they could go to Iceland, and Iceland.com is .is. And so they just bought the URL from Iceland, and so it's chrisshepard.is. And so it just goes with the website.
If I end up copying you, doing kevinkelly.is.
Yeah, there's just like, since I got out of the restaurants, I do more stuff now than I did before.
Yeah, it seems like like if you were to explain what you do now, it's vast. There's a lot of tentacles. It seems like
there is, yeah, probably more coming up, but yeah,
because you have a celebrity chef pop-up series, right? Isn't there something like that too?
Yeah, I need to work on that.
Okay.
Four Seasons keeps asking me about that. Yeah, so it's a dinner series of the Four Seasons. They want to do 4 dinners quarterly dinner series. And so I did the first one because it was easy, and I got to fulfill a dream of creating a restaurant that I've always wanted to do, which was an Italian steakhouse that I grew up going to in Omaha, but different, called Mr. C's. It closed in 2007, so it made sense to do Mr. C. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a steakhouse, but with killer pastas and fun, different things. So we did that, and they're like, "Who's next?" And I was like, "Who do you want?" And it's just like, well, we would like to, and it's like, I need to find chefs from out of town that at Four Seasons in their town come in. So talked about Daniela, talked about Birdie's, talked about, Sarah, since we just said Italian, doesn't make sense to do another Italian restaurant right now, but I might have the Farmstead boys come in since there's a Four Seasons out in Napa.
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just opened. So that would be fun.
So are you done with restaurants?
Never say never.
So this is delicious. No, yeah, I mean, for the most part. I was
just curious. Like, I don't mean like putting you on the spot. I'm just curious in general. Like, do you find your path going this other direction, kind
of? I like being home at night. I like being able to have these kind of conversations on a whatever day it is, at whatever time it is, mm-hmm. and not have to worry about, as a restaurant owner, you hold the stress of all your employees, and I guess I hold the stress of the industry.
I was going to say, what you're doing is more important from the industry or for the industry now.
Yeah, but it gives me the time to be able to do that too.
Yes.
And restaurants, if I did restaurants, I wouldn't be able to be as focused.
Yeah.
Because there's Southern Smoke, which is not a paying job, but it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. There's writing about wine, which is just fun, and it's a good tax write-off, but I don't get paid for that either. I mean, that was a weird decision. But when I decided to do it, they were like, "We're not going to pay you if you want to do it." And I was like, "Sounds great." There's the TV show Eat Like a Local, which I really love doing. That is, I think, where my path is. There's a Table to Stage series where I talk to chefs or restaurant folks on stage in front of a couple hundred people. There's a meat company, which is basically hot dogs and sausage right now, but
Wow.
we're the official hot dog of the Houston Texans and rodeo, which is big.
Wow. Yeah.
And that hasn't even really fully been branded yet. So we'll go to retail at some point. Then there's like consulting and writing and I don't know.
Yeah. No,
There's all sorts of stuff. But as far as like, look, she's always said like, I'm always here, there, everywhere. I don't know how I would run a restaurant that way. So I don't know.
yeah. No, I couldn't see how I would fit in right now.
I
Specifically.
turned 52 next week. So like,
Well, happy birthday.
thank you.
This will come out when your birthday's around your birthday.
Yeah.
When's your birthday? What's today?
September 7th.
7.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing it in Antonio.
But it's one of those things that like, if I did that, how would I couldn't focus as much on Southern Smoke. And I couldn't focus as much on the TV show. And the TV show, I think, is good for the community as far as like restaurants go, because anything that can highlight restaurants and brings people to restaurants, I feel like I do my job better that way. Because the show is very much like my writing. It's a stream of just verbiage that comes out. Like the first show I ever aired, like my producer hands me a piece of paper with words on it, and I just looked at it. I was like, "What is this?" She's like, "A script." And I was like, "Here you go." And I handed it back to her, and I was like, she's like, "Oh shit, here we go." And I was like, "Yeah,
it's one of these guys."
Like, I also don't have a computer, so just don't expect me to respond to things.
Look, man, be good at what you're good at. I also can't tie a tie. And people are like, "You can't tie a tie, you don't have a computer." I'm like, "Can you fully break down a hog perfectly?" No. Like we have different skill sets that we've been good at. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
So
the show's great. And as somebody who's on the show, like I've been featured on the show, it impacts business. Like you are impacting Houston businesses.
Yeah. And that's what makes sense to me.
Is there when does it air?
Every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And then every Sunday night at like right after the news or right after. So it's on NBC, so they have sports night. Like so during football season, it's like right after the game ends, that show comes on.
Just in Houston.
Yeah. Well, and then YouTube and all the other platforms of visual.
It's called Eat Like a Local.
Okay. Yeah. I have that on my list. Okay. Now I know what it is. Okay, cool. Because I don't live in Houston, so I don't end up seeing it. And so there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. So I would.
My goal would be to eventually take it national, but
yeah.
We'll start here because I really love this city and I really love talking about the restaurants in the city.
I love the concept too, just without even knowing what it is. Eat Like a Local is important. Very important.
So we get when it airs, and I think you guys do reruns too. So like we get rerun airs too, but when our restaurant was featured, it had a huge impact. And we know, and sometimes we don't know, right? Like a lot of times we're in an article and like nothing really comes of it. People come in and say, "I'm here because I watched Chris Shepard's show," or "I'm here because Chris said to order the PB&J wings."
Yes.
I mean, people feel like they were like, "I have a list of instructions from Chris. Like, how do I order like Chris?"
That's the narrative now. They pull out their phone and they have a screenshot, or they go to the website and it says, "You should order these things." And they go, "I want this."
Yeah.
And people are like, man, and like I talked to the team at Nobi's and like they made ordering very easy for our team.
Yeah.
Because they basically just come in and go, and it's like the kitchen's just programmed now. Like,
yeah,
it's really amazing.
Well, and it's amazing the power of TV versus any other kind of medium. I think it's amazing that because a lot of people might look down. I don't know why, but they look down on Guy Fieri, but he's done so much for the industry. And when restaurants, they get huge bumps, like 3-4 times the amount of business. Yeah. So
it really makes a difference. It does. And I didn't realize that when I first started it. And then it started to happen real quick. And I was like, wow, people actually watch this show for one. Like,
yeah, that's nice.
Now I watch it.
Yeah. and now people just watch. Like I thought people knew me when I had restaurants, and now it's just it's really amazing the notoriety of that.
Yeah.
Like I've been going through a TSA for some reason at the airport, and they all watch it. Is
That's
he
your-
not a little guy? And it's just like, hey man, how are you?
That's your demographic.
Good with
It's
it's
TSA.
TSA agents.
Yeah,
What
you
I'm-
should, yeah, you should definitely. That's your demographic, and that's who you should be. speaking to.
it's hard to it's I mean it's really people watch it. It's
Yeah.
impressive.
I think, okay, I have a question.
Oh boy.
You were on Wine Enthusiast Future 40,
Yeah.
which is great. Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
That's-
congratulations.
There's only one cat in that picture.
Beans.
How does Rosie feel about
She's
that?
really fast.
So
I
she's
tried
in
to
the
grab
photo.
both of them, and she's like, "Hell no, Dad, gone."
So,
So because they gave us like a little Polaroid, it was like
Yeah.
like a little tiny Polaroid, and they're like, "Just take 40 photos." I was like, "This thing's terrible, man." I got really frustrated, and I finally like we went to like restaurants to take the photos. I stood outside like everywhere, and finally I was just like, and I sat down on the stairs and I grabbed a cat. I tried to grab the other one. She took off. I was like, "Lindsay, take the photo." She took the photo, and that's what they used. And I was like, I figured that's how it was going to work.
just
So.
beans, not Rosie.
Well, here you go. Southern Smoke Festival, 72 chefs this year. Tons of wine bars. We quit doing it where we had people like distributors donating wine. Now we have a lot of local wine bars coming to set up shops so they could pick out what they wanted. So there's Montrose Cheese and Wine, the library.
Sorry, the
Stella's, 13 Celsius, and then we've got Oakwood Pizza Box from Raleigh coming back to do it.
They did pizza at your house, right?
They did for Tegan.
Oh,
And then one out of New Orleans, Lola out of Austin. October 5th.
October 5th. That's the question. When is it? October 5th. Okay.
One day only. It's the
It's-
greatest day of all time.
I cannot advocate for this enough. It's a great cause. It's good for the community. All that is true, and none of that is why you should do it. You should do it because it is the best fucking weekend. No, I mean, truly. Like, if
good.
you are a greedy, impulsive, horrible human being, you should still do Southern Smoke because you're going to have so much fun. And like, if some good comes out of it, which it will, like, you don't have to, like, that doesn't have to be the reason why. It's the most fun event. It's a fun party. I'm really trying to get Patrick drunk, and I really want Patrick to get the QR code for Southern Smoke's Behind You program and Emergency Relief Fund tattooed on his arm. I mean, just like, it's that kind of weekend, okay? It's that kind of weekend.
So it's October 5th. Are tickets
fun.
on sale already?
They are, yeah.
Yeah. And they will, VIP,
Goes
which
pretty quick.
VIP will sell out. And that is, there's a reason it's VIP. Yes. Does it cost money? Of course it costs money. Like, you can't hang out with us for nothing. I mean, you are, but like,
I am. But
you
still-
are, but it's fun and it's worth it, right? And then the GA will also sell out. It just won't sell out as quickly as the VIP. But so like, don't
We have a lot
think you
more of
can, yeah, don't think you can just like sit around forever. I mean, if you want to be part of Southern Smoke, you got to get off your ass and go get the tickets.
You know, and generally people like food festivals like that. I just didn't get enough food. Like, and it's like there are 72 chefs, and that is 72 plates of food. It's
That's-
impossible.
And
It
you
is
can-
literally impossible to do that. And
Yeah.
then the amount of wine and cocktails and joy and happiness that
and everybody's taken care of. The
Yeah.
guests, like the chefs are taken care of, the guests are taken care of, the musicians are taken care. I mean, literally, like, everybody is having a great time.
you have 90s
together.
country band this year.
Really? I'm so excited.
Last year we did Yacht Rock.
Which was also fantastic.
Mhm.
The 90s
Yeah.
country is awesome. That's killer. So where is it located? Is it close
Discovery
by-
Green, right in the middle of downtown Houston.
Okay.
7 acres of happy.
It's true.
Well, Aaron, because I have to go. Is there anything you want to add about Feges?
They're kicking ass.
Yeah, Feges is doing great.
I will say, and she won't say it, but I will say that I do believe that a chicken wing should be its own food group. And there's only a few people in this world that have mastered the chicken wing.
We did that together.
No, you did that. You literally did that. But
Wow.
everything else about that restaurant is amazing. Like I think by saying barbecue, you're selling it really short in a world of barbecue that is fantastic
Mhm.
because it's so much more than just like ribs, chicken, brisket, sausage. Like it is thoughtful, it is progressive, it has all the things that you want. wine list. But you can go in and get a salad.
Yeah.
You can get a salad at a barbecue joint. Come on, get out of here. And it's delicious. You can get a rice bowl. You can get all these things. Like the burger's great. Like everything about it, they just do well.
Mm-hmm.
Not well, fantastically. And so, not just that they dear friends, but I believe in it. And they're doing good work in the city.
Oh.
And they take care of their people, and that matters the most to me. If you're a good cook, you have a good restaurant, but treat your people like shit, you'll never see me.
Love that. That's important. And I also too, I could take a little part. Erin, I could take that little part and send it to you, and you can use that for.
I was gonna say I don't have anything to add. That was incredible.
That's a good way to end it. Well, thank you, Chris, for taking the time.
I don't care.
No, I think I believe in what they're doing. That's why I'm also doing this, is because I believe in them as people, but also as restaurateurs. And I love everything about you guys.
We didn't talk about it all. The nuances of barbecue and wine.
Oh, we layered it in a little bit. It doesn't matter. This is just about having fun and connecting.
Yeah.
And I haven't connected with Kevin like this
we haven't
in a long time. This feels really
Take care, guys. All right.
all right.
Bye.
Good night.
Night.